Perfect. Well, hello, Mike. It's so great to connect with you. We've had a few great conversations previously. I want to ask you, who are you? Who is Mike?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the answer is going to really depend on where you're coming from because I have this sense of myself, like had a near-death experience, all of that. And that, for some reason, that was very difficult to integrate back from, as you know. And then I stepped into the altered states of consciousness with plant medicine at an early age, like at 19, 20, 21. Very quickly realized that there's actually better ways to do it than that. So even people who are talking about, ayahuasca and mushrooms and all of that now, that's the stuff that I gave up, 30 years ago, and moved on. And I did, and then I was in a 10-year shamanic apprenticeship, got right into healing, body work, breath work. It just led me down all these different explorations and paths, and finally to things like alchemy, altered states of consciousness without all of that quantum mechanics in terms of the brain, the consciousness. Yeah, so it's a really beautiful exploration. And to answer your question, who am I? I feel like my particular purpose in remembering all of this is to bring this aspect to people who are ready for it, that we do not need the healing. We are actually, and especially at a quantum level where there is no time, we are actually fine. Everything's perfect, and we exist at all of these different levels now, all in this moment. And so if you are coming in from this human level, yeah, of course, that's what you believe. We forget it when we come in, who we truly are. But we can go further, much, much further. And I just am here to work with people who really want to explore this shift in moving from this space of awakening into the information, and then moving that to knowing in the heart. And it's a really different space. It's kind of like when you come to know that about yourself, you really kind of get a sense of all these people who want readings and things. They never need that because it's yours. Yeah, that information is yours. So you go out and find your own information through the techniques that I work with and teach and work with people. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And you know what? It's cool. Like you were saying before, we parallel each other quite a bit, like even in the business side of things. And I love that because it's so true. As soon as I remember having this experience with this random person, and all she said was, get out of your own way. It's like that's all there is to do in life is to get out of our own ways. And it's true. And it sounds like, you realize that at a much younger age than a lot of people do. Many of us get to, our mid 30s, 40s, and we're just starting to figure it out, where many souls have been put on this earth and seated on this earth to realize it at a younger age through, like, you had a traumatic experience. And I think that's so beautiful and such a beautiful gift to share. So thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
love it.
What's your take on it?
Well, I truly believe that too. I feel the past, present, and future is all happening at the same time. I believe in timelines. I believe everything is happening simultaneously. I've seen glitches in the matrix of my own life, so I know firsthand. I've seen, during my near death experience, I saw many things happening all at once that I shouldn't have known were going on. And then it comes to you at a different time in your life, and you're like, wow, like there's way more to this consciousness game than what we see with our physical eyes. And it's so true. I just made a little speech in the community about not blaming people for our emotions. And I think that's step one with anybody in, a healing modality in anything. And I find, you're right, like with card readings and stuff, people need to be very cautious. And I don't even like to use that word, but, if people are planting seeds in your head of negativity that is to come, it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy in your life. So be very aware of the information we take in on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, that aspect I think is a huge point to make, Becky, because the other thing that comes to mind is that the more we try and seek answers in other people, the more we are telling ourselves subconsciously that we don't have them. Yeah. So when we can just own what we get, like learn through intuition, learn through whatever, own what we get, and then be able to seek out the information we need at the time. That's incredibly powerful on so many levels.
Yeah, I think so many of us are programmed to not be open to receiving from a very young age. We feel we're taught to hustle and seek and push. And as we push, as you know, we push resistance out and we actually push those answers away from us and that energy away from us. So if we learn to just sit in the silence and the calm and open up to receive, and pair that with, serving and giving and being able to help others, more and more answers, the synchronicities will start coming. However, whoever's watching this sees their synchronicities. It's all different for everybody, but start believing in those signs, start believing in that nothing is a coincidence, and start following that where your heart leads you. And like, I think that's the biggest thing. We go where our fear leads us generally, or leads us away from them. We need to learn to go where our heart leads us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I really feel, interestingly, that you would mention that because this shift, I think I briefly mentioned it before we started this call, but this shift of people understanding this, it's kind of like there's a big difference between the information that we hold in our head and the knowledge that we have in our hearts, And when we get down to that heart, and that real deep sense of, oh yeah, this is it. It's different for everyone, but when we really get down to what's in our hearts, it's incredibly powerful to live by that, that aspect.
Yeah, that, Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches about the heart mind coherence. Many beautiful teachers do. And it's like the scientific aspect of it, right? Like I like to pair the science with the spirituality because we need some tangibility in our life still. When we start to trust our intuition, where so many people are untuned from our intuition. This is what really sparked my journey into digging into it, was trying to trust and learn what my intuition is versus my fears and my ego. And not to give ego a bad rap, because we need our ego to survive. Our ego is just as important as our intuition, but we need to learn to pair the two and understand where the voices are coming from in our in our head, and understanding that, pairing those two and trusting that guidance, whether it's you're driving down the street and instead of going the same route today, you have some inkling to turn right down this other road where you may happenstance bump into somebody that you haven't seen in years, or somebody new that's going to give you some great offering or information, or go to a different coffee shop, text somebody you haven't texted in forever. Like, we're so telepathically connected as humans. Like,
Hmm.
when we start to trust that and trust that higher knowing and be like, okay, I don't need to be a creature of habit. I can do things differently to open my heart more. Our lives will change before our eyes.
Yeah, beautiful. So what comes up in the moment is this notion that in a quantum universe there is no time. Yeah, which means that all of those aspects of us that we encounter are actually all unfolding right now. We have this human aspect, we have this spiritual connection to the human aspect, but we also have all of those layers all the way up to existing and being, one with everything. Um, and they are all unfolding in the now. So what's your experience of that?
That's such an amazing point to touch on. Thank you for bringing that up. So the now is important. And what do you mean by the now? It's just being okay with right now, what is, whether it's good, bad, or ugly in our own perception. And the now, the past, present, and future, as we shift our now. So the only way to shift our now is in our mind, our mindset, how we're showing up. Say if something very stressful is going on in your life and the old you wants to run away or get in a fight, or, you know, drink or whatever that old coping mechanism is, you show up and you catch that voice in your head and you rewire it in the now to show up differently. You're actually jumping a timeline, a quantum timeline, to a different version of yourself. You're creating a new an improved version of yourself ultimately. And the more we do this, the more we create and become that version in ourselves. This is what manifestation and the manifestation community stems on. It's living in the wish fulfilled, Neville Goddard, right? It's like assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And that's what we want to do. It's not just as easy as fake it till you make it. It's you have to be it. It's like you have to smell it, you have to feel it, you have to immerse yourself in it and just become it. And it's, anybody watching this who's maybe a little newer to this might just be shaking their head going, no, that's not true. I dare you today to focus on something like a black cat or, a certain type of bird and put it in your mind's eye. You'll see it. You'll see it within 24 hours. I guarantee you it'll show up in your existence. And if this doesn't make you realize how powerful of a creator you are in a quantum universe, nothing will.
Because this is an aspect, I think, of manifestation that comes up a lot because people want results. Yeah, want to create black cats, want to create piles of money, all that stuff. Yeah, but I'm increasingly affected by what is actually showing up as just simply as an opportunity. What shows up as a yes to the thoughts in your head, as an answer. And I wonder from a quantum point of view, sometimes if anyone even exists, there is only my consciousness playing out. And the eyes, the ears are all illusory. What are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
I love that because that's that free will comment, right? Like whose free will is free will? Well, honestly, the only thing, what I believe from my experience is we can control the free will, whether it's for the highest best good of other people around us or not.
Yeah.
That's what's going to play out in it. If you're trying to manipulate somebody with free will in a way that you want them to show up in a certain way, but you don't believe in yourself, you're not doing it to serve them and serve the highest best good, that might come back and bite you in the butt. That being said, if it's something like for your child, say, let's use a kid, for example, and your child is struggling and you catch yourself having negative thoughts about your kid, like, oh my gosh, blah blah blah, they're not showing up in school the way they should. Instead of that, start to focus on the best version of them in your mind. Create a new version of that person that's in your mind where you might be thinking thoughts of malice or disdain or bitterness or frustration. Turn it into thoughts of love and send them love. This is like what I do. This is my quick fix when I'm frustrated with something because I'm human. I get frustrated and I find myself getting bitter. I'm like, oh my gosh, I catch myself in that moment. And I'm like, okay, I'm sending this person love. Like, this has nothing to do with me. And I'm going to create a version of them in my head and have that conversation that I want to hear in my head with them while, focusing on what's highest best good for them and for myself. And I don't know, what do you do in situations like that where it's like the free will versus what's showing up on the outside?
Yeah, I mean, I am just saying yes to everything right now. So whatever shows up, could be anything like new work, new people, new whatever it might be. To just kind of walk in with this open mind and this open heart and really dive into, okay, put it out there. What are you bringing in this moment? Um, and even when you get that aspect of your children, it's like, oh, okay, well, we know that we all love our kids, right? What are they bringing in this moment? And what is that showing you and you? And I think that's if you have the courage to really dive deep and look at that, you find there's aspects of what shows up that you can delineate, right? That's old school nonsense. Yeah, that's higher consciousness, love and connection, and that's where the choice lies. So finding those moments where you actually just witness both of those, the old and the new, the negative and the positive. And then if you really want to take it a step further, right, it is to just witness both of those and stay in the peace of this moment, right? It's like this here, because you will understand this because you're so into alchemy, yeah, is that we have this aspect that moves from the positive to the negative all the time. And if we can go to where that fulcrum is, that is the point that allows everything to unfold, and all we do is witness. And if we just hold that end result of what we would love, in the case of kids, it's really that they would find um, that aspect that is truly them, and that is all. Everything else is nonsense. So, yeah.
I love that. That is so amazingly said. And the fact that you brought up like that fulcrum and like I love it when people speak in analogies because I feel it speaks so much to so many listeners, so many people that this will touch because people on the outside might not understand what we're explaining, but when you can see it in a picture in your mind and create like this comparison to something physical, it's like, oh, it like light bulbs turn on. And it's so true. It's like we must live in this place of balance, in this place of nothingness. The 0 point, I call it, is where all creation comes from.
Yeah.
That quiet point, the point between the in breath and the out breath, that small space where nothing is happening. That's how universes are created. And that's how we transmute what is showing up in a way that we may not want in our lives by not fighting it and forcing it back, but sitting with it and breathing through it and allowing it to be, and then transmuting it, back into love, unconditional love, because that's what it is. And another great point to that is one of the first topics that I really learned and held on to was in the Tao Te Ching, and it was Wu Wei, Lao Tzu's Wu Wei, effortless effort. And I was like, this makes no sense. How can you have effortless effort? And if you think about it, if you're in a river, life is a river, and it's trying to take you where you're meant to be. Like we in a multidimensional universe, a quantum universe, there's so many ended timelines that we can choose, and the river is trying to take us there. But as we're fighting it and we're swimming upstream, we're wasting all of our valuable source energy on fighting the current, and it may deter us to a lower timeline or not the right timeline, and we may have to go in a circle again and come back to the same point because we haven't learned our lesson yet. When we let go and we allow that nothingness to take us, and like you said, allow what's showing up to be and love it for what it is, take our perception out of it and just be like, okay, what is this teaching me on the inside? Why is this showing up? That is one of my favorite questions. Why is this showing up right now? And we ask ourselves that more in the challenging times and the good times. And the good times we're like, yeah, let's take it. Come on, this is great. It's taking me where I want to be. And then in the difficult times we're like, oh, why?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Well, everyone's predilection is towards the good and away from the bad, but I strongly believe that if you can get to that fulcrum bit and away from that, the swing of the pendulum and the good and the bad, you really move into a space of deep peace. Not that we can stay there all the time, we're human, but yeah, that's there. So Becky, who are you? Like, what's your take on being here in this world?
I am Becky. And anybody who knows me knows that I work very diligently to not use labels because my purpose is to teach spirituality in a non-dogmatic form. I'm here to like break the walls because no way is right for, 8 billion people. We all find our path with which what works for us. And that's what spirituality is. And I'm here to teach people it's okay to be you. It's okay to show up as you. I'm here to build communities. I'm here to speak. I'm here to be heard. And that's one of the big things I've been going through. It's like feeling heard has always been one of my shadow aspects. And it's because I'm meant to speak. And the more I speak, the more I hear myself. And it's like, I got to listen to myself just as much as anybody else. And I, I am here to shine a light for people to help them walk home, to guide them back to themselves, to just serve in a way that makes them feel comfortable and makes them feel okay with themselves, because so many of us are not okay with ourselves, even as we reach our middle age. Like, there's so many people I see out there who just are so afraid to be who they truly are because they're worried of somebody else's judgment on the outside. And what we need to realize is we are perfect, whole, and complete as we are in every moment, because we show up with the wisdom we know at the time. And we need to forgive those old versions of ourselves for maybe not showing up the way we should have, and walk forward in that.
And is there an aspect to all of that that is really about people remembering what their soul wanted for this life before they came here? Because I'm getting the sense that there's a real remembering of old information in all of this.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, the remembering. And honestly, the remembering is just the knowing now. I know so many people want to know their Akash and this and that. Honestly, we can let a lot of that go. It's a beautiful way to learn, but a lot of the time the Akash will take us back to trauma that we've been through and things that we don't need to focus on. An example is, what is, like, where are you attracted to? Even when I was in some of the worst parts of my life, people would always come to me for advice on life. And I'm like, have you seen my life? It's like burning, my house is burning down around me, literally. Like, and I'm like sitting here like in shock and PT, post-traumatic stress and all this stuff. And people would still come to me for guidance. And I started to realize this must be part of my calling, because it keeps showing up. Music as well, it kept showing up for me. It was like I was pushed into it and I would like resist. But when, like, when you talked about opening your heart and following that, when I finally let those fears go of speaking, of teaching, of knowing that I have the wisdom to pass along to people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming to me. Life started to really show up and guide me down that river. I let it go. It's like I let it go.
Yeah, gorgeous. I love that. I love that. So, I'm feeling in the moment like maybe you, maybe me, we've got like some ideas to give away to people. What would you call your top three ideas for getting people in a space of real selfless giving and deep connection to who they truly are?
So the first one would be just letting go of all the illusions of what you're not, and being okay with those aspects of you that may cause shame or guilt or have in the past. And I know that's easier said than done in a lot of circumstances, because a lot of people who have been raised in hardcore religious beliefs can hold on to and harbor a lot of that in their actually in their physical body, or who've been through major trauma in their life. A second is to make sure and fill your cup first. And this doesn't mean being selfish. It means being selfless with yourself. And when I talk about self-care, it's not about going to the spa and getting your nails done, or, going and buying a new vehicle, or it's about actually tending to your own feelings and reparenting those bits of you that may be a little lost. And I still have bits of myself that come up in, day to day little, just that little Becky that shows up and makes me feel maybe a little insecure in the moment or not. And you have to just like love that bit of you instead of running from it. And then the third is stop being a victim of your circumstances. Take what you've been through in life as a teaching tool to share with others. And you never know whose life you can shift just by smiling at somebody, just by holding a door open, just by being an open ear for them.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Yeah, I would suggest the three things for me would be to really agree with you on that second one, like that self-care aspect. Because if we don't have ourselves sorted, at least in this moment, um, on as many different levels as we can, we remain broken. Yeah. And part of being a human, I guess, part of being this aspect of who we are, is to really acknowledge that it is only a part. It is only a part of who we truly are. But it does require third dimensional care, right? We got to eat right, we got to be right, all of that. Yeah. The second thing I think is that what most people call imagination, people blow it off as this flimsy thing, but it's not. It is the source of everything for us, be that manifestation, be that information. It is the care, attention and care of that information that is so valid for us, and not to blow it off, to be true to it for ourselves, and it will just get stronger and stronger. And I think that's the thing is it's like that message to your subconscious, if you blow it off as imagination, that's where it will stay. But if we can be in that space, and really honor it, it will get stronger and stronger and be an effective force in our life. And the third thing is to just honor everything as ourselves. You, me, everyone, right? We truly tip into a space. If you get into the quantum universe, you will find that you truly tip into a space where you are connected to everything through all time and space. And I think that is incredibly powerful for for really honoring yourself, for passing that message through. But people start to feel it, people around you start to feel it. And everyone is incredibly powerful, way beyond what we have ever been taught.
I love that. That's so beautiful. The imagination is like that really hits home to me. And thank you for sharing that. So many people get disconnected because many people in like I know my age group, we were told as kids, like you can't be what you imagine you want to be. And I lost my imagination for years and my creative outlet. That being paired with being creative is huge too, because that really opens up those channels for creating, for imagining. So just follow that. It's okay to have childlike fun once in a while. That would be another thing I would add. Like number four would be have fun, find joy in the mundane things in life, and do things that make you happy. Do things that make you happy. It's when you're finding that disconnect to life, when nothing's making you happy, that's when you really need to look within and be like, why am I feeling disconnected? Why is this not bringing me joy? And generally, what happens is because we disconnect ourselves from source. So just focus on like that beautiful sunshine or source energy flowing through your body and reignite yourself. Go stand outside barefoot if you can. Reconnect with the earth and the elements around you. It's so powerful.
I'm going to go and do that now. So,
You can. It's summer where you are. It's winter here.
oh, yeah, boiling outside today.
Oh, nice. Yeah, go walk barefoot. This is amazing. I love these types of like this co-creation. Just it's what lights me up in life. So thank you for inviting me to do this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Let's talk again soon. This was really awesome.